Hello everybody, happy Friday. School run thoughts today. I wanted to expand on what I started talking about yesterday about that spreading the load. If you have your significant other at home, and if not, are you splitting childcare, and how you sort of spread the load. Especially what I want to focus on more so is for those parents with little ones under the age of 2. I quite often focus on older children because that's how old my children are, and I do specialise in that with their sleep. But I do work with younger children as well, and I wanted to get into how people manage split in childcare and response when their little ones are still, a bit more reliant on comfort and support, and how you do that. So on that, how are you all doing? If your little one is under 2, how are you finding that shift, especially if this is your first child? Are you fully embracing the fact that parent life is wonderful, and the night wakings and how loss of identity to begin with, not necessarily in a negative way. I know lots of people who feel like they find their identity when they have their little ones. But how are you finding the job load, and how are you sort of splitting that with your partner? Quite often, especially with parents who are struggling with their sleep, not all the time, and more over the last sort of 4 years that I've been doing this, I am finding more and more that dads are doing a lot more. And I do not want to be brandishing all dads as not waking up in the night and not responding. But the lion's share is still generally falling on the mums, because we tend to be the ones who take maternity leave. We tend to then want to make sure that our partners are getting sleep because they've got to go up and go to work. Things like that's absolutely understandable. It's, pretty standard that's how people sort of approach that sort of like night wakings and things. But does your partner ever get involved? Because again, mine certainly did when he was home, not away at sea. He absolutely did. I would kick him and be like, your turn, off you go. If I knew baby didn't need feeding, then obviously if you're exclusively breastfeeding and your little one is feeding frequently through the night, then it might be a case that you need to think, do they need this feed every time? Because obviously feeding is the most important thing we need to establish. We need to make sure that baby is feeding well, growing well, all of that. But if you get to the point where your baby's a bit older and still wanting to feed every hour, and we can usually assume that it's more habitual rather than like a calorific need, so to speak, and that maybe they are feeding every 2.5 hours and taking a bigger rather than so frequently. It can be really, really helpful if your partner will get involved, because they can go in and offer that comfort to little one. It's a regular comfort, it's somebody that they're used to, it's familiar. They can offer comfort without smell of milk, which can usually help if the little one is still quite young, and they're less likely to start rooting on dad because dad doesn't smell of the goods. And lots of studies have actually found as well that women need more sleep. So while I think it's it's standard, it's expected in a way still that if the mums are off on mat leave and dad's back at work, that yes, we will deal with more of the night wakings, understandably. Women do actually need more sleep than men. So remember that. Bank that if you're watching this, mums. And you are more inclined to want to do the night responses if you're struggling with feeding or anything like that, and little one will only settle for you. Obviously, you can always book a call with me if you are struggling with that. But if you are content with that and you're happy to carry on doing that for now, and your partner can't really help through the night, or there's other reasons why they can't, then make sure that you're spreading the load elsewhere during the day, because you're going to be tired. So let's make sure, can the partner get up in the morning and make sure that the washing has gone on? Can they prep dinner? Can they move around? Just all those other mundane things that you do not need to be worrying about if you are dealing with constant night wake. So do you manage to find a balance of that load with specific regards to those first 2 years where it's very demanding, and it's a lot to deal with? And if not, and you're struggling with this, then I really believe in just open communication. Speak to your partner and say, hey, we're in this together, let's stay in this together, and let's just sit down and write down everything that is going on in my brain that I need to do every day, how you can help me at night time, how you can help in the mornings, how you can help after work, whatever it is, and see where they're at, because they may be more than happy to do that. And if not, then maybe they're willing to pick up extra bits elsewhere. So I really think that getting on the same page as your partner is so important, because otherwise you can start feeling resentful towards each other, especially if you're sleep deprived. So keep that communication open and find a way to spread the load with regards to actual responses and actual, daily tasks that need to get done in those first couple of years. Would love to know your thoughts on this. Does your little one get up in the night, or are you constantly up and down out of bed and desperately trying to get through? Let me know in the comments, and any questions around this, do just shout, because every family approaches sleep with a different mindset and how they want things to look, and that is absolutely fine. Sleep is very individual, but if you are dealing with frequent night waking, you don't need to suffer alone. Drop us a message and we can get you some support with a gentle response that is tailored to your family and the outcomes that you are looking for.